okay. I'm just in the woods. And I felt like talking about a thing. A thing I like to call physical deconditioning. Physical deconditioning isn't getting out of shape. I'm going to find a spot to sit down here. Physical conditioning is not just being lazy. Here's a nice looking tree. Physical deconditioning, think of it like more of a body cognitive process than a physiological process, if that makes sense. I'll tell you a practical story that I think might describe this concept of physical deconditioning. So this happened recently. This is a little past ramble from a week ago, I guess, that I was in the doctor's office at the hospital getting nerve conduction testing. And it was so painful that I had to get them to stop the test after 10 minutes. So I incompleted. The test was incomplete and I didn't get the results, but it was my choice to stop the testing because that was best for me. Now, as this relates to deconditioning physically, it's more about the choices we make for our body than the physical state of our body. So the choice I made for my body in that moment was, this hurts, I'm going to ask the authorities to stop. But I've been in so many environments in the past, mosquito, where things were hurting my body and I didn't ask them to stop, or I didn't stand up for myself and my right to make a choice about it's my own body. I should be able to stop if I want to. So in that moment when I was getting the nerve conduction testing, I think that is the first time since I was maybe like 9 years old that I actually made a conscious choice about what is best for my body. And that seems pretty ludicrous, but I think it's true. Even when I think back to all the fitness choices that I made, that in the moment, I thought I was making a healthy choice. I thought that strength training was healthy for me. I thought that running was healthy for me. I was somehow buying into my own bullshit about what was best for me. I think we call this a confabulation, which is a lie that you believe to be true. So I was definitely lying to myself, but I thought I was doing something good for myself because I was doing what I was conditioned to believe what was healthy, based in some cookie cutter generic world where what's healthy for one person is healthy for everybody. But this is not true. And there are so many ways that we do this. It shows up in this non-fitness context that I just described of being in a doctor's office, getting this painful testing done, and then probably an earlier version of me would have just borne it. I would have just let them do it and said nothing and dealt with the pain. But something in me was like, no, it's not okay to put myself through pain anymore. I remember when I was doing gymnastics when I was maybe 8 or 9 years old or something like that. There was this moment where we were doing exercises on the vault and I had landed funny, I think, or something that didn't feel good in my body, so I asked if I could stop. And they said, no, keep going. And then next day I told my mom, I don't want to do gymnastics, mosquito, anymore. And my parents were, I got to stand up and move or these mosquitoes are going to get me. My parents, I think, were a little bit like, Monica, you got to keep going because we paid, so just finish out the year. And I was like, okay, I agree, I'll finish out the year because you paid for it. But then I started to believe after that it wasn't okay to quit what I've started because people have invested resources in me. And I have to meet those expectations and not be a disappointment. Time and money have been invested in my training, my body to do this thing. So Keep doing it even when it hurts. And that's kind of what I learned. And that's the physical conditioning that now I think I'm starting to undo. But we do it in other ways too. We learn that this kind of movement is good and this kind of movement is bad, and this kind of exercise is good and this kind of exercise is bad, and the body moves this way and you should never move it that way. And it goes on and on and on, and there are so many things. And ultimately, I think the truth is nobody really knows. I was having a conversation with my colleagues, Margie and Ricardo, today, and we were talking about the pelvic floor and the SI joints, and Margie just says, you know what, guys? Nobody knows what the pelvic floor and the SI joints do. We're all just making our best informed ideas about it, and some people seem to know what they're talking about and get results, and other people say something else, but they also get results, so nobody knows. The body is so mysterious in so many ways, and we just don't know. So, if nobody knows, and you're listening to somebody who's telling you to do something with your body, and they don't know what the body's supposed to do, what do you do? Well, we kind of have to do a little bit of a science project. We kind of have to explore and see what happens for us, because how things work for me are going to be different than how things work for you. And that's true in many areas of life, and not just the body, but we tend not to think about it really when it comes to believing fitness advice that we get online from these generic cookie cutter sources that say this is the way to fix your back pain, just do exercises XYZ. And then some people do those and they don't work. Some people do them and they are instantly better. So what to believe? They're both right. But what I think is the important thing and the empowering thing is that if you are given options, you're presented with this buffet of things you can do with your body. And then you have some choices you get to make about, do I want to do this or do I want to do that, based on how it makes my body feel afterwards. So I think the most important thing in this thing that I call physical deconditioning is to question the advice that you've been given. And then remember that everything is a choice. Anything that I tell my clients to do, it's a choice. You don't need to do it, but I invite you to explore it, and if it works for you and if it feels good, then maybe you want to keep that in your toolkit. Maybe you don't. So, mosquitoes. Physical deconditioning. The process of unlearning everything you've ever believed about what's good for your body and starting from scratch, empowered by the ability to choose, not based on what someone tells you to do, but based on what you are exploring for yourself. I'm gonna hang up before I get blood out by these vampires. Love your body.